Still joined by Michael Freeman, who's from the Israeli embassy. He's counsellor to civil society at the embassy. And that word history has been used an awful lot. I'm just hearing from Boris Johnson, the British Foreign Secretary. He says he's saddened by the loss of life in Gaza today, and we've already heard of a number of deaths. 41 was the latest toll, with more than 1,000 people wounded. Boris Johnson says that this move is playing the wrong card at the wrong time.
Well, we think this is the right card at the right time. We believe that this will contribute to peace, that this will move forward in the long term, that this recognises a reality. Since 1949, Jerusalem's been our capital, a capital as defined as the city where all of the major institutions of state are, and all of our major institutions of state are in Jerusalem.
You talk about reality, and of course we are talking about events not that far away, on the border, Gaza Strip, and the loss of life, which has already been described by Amnesty International as a violation of international law. That we're hearing that the PLO has announced a general strike in the Palestinian territories for tomorrow. That this, in effect, has been a very provocative mood at a time when tensions are already running very high.
Well, the violence in Gaza is not connected to the move in Jerusalem. This is an attempt by Hamas, and Hamas are solely responsible for all of the violence that's taking place in Gaza. They're solely responsible for the activities that are taking there. They've been planning this for weeks. They've been planning to carry out these attacks. They've been planning to try and breach the border. Is
that why the Israeli forces were ready with live ammunition rather than water cannon, rather than rubber bullets?
We dropped thousands of leaflets this morning warning the Gaza residents not to approach the fence, that they were able to protest anywhere they liked in Gaza, that protest is absolutely their right, but to approach the border in order to try and breach it and then trying to attack Jewish communities and Israeli communities the other side of the border was an unacceptable thing, and no country in the world would stand by while people tried to breach the border and try to attack their civilians.
When the discussion over the future of Jerusalem was at the heart of what many thought might be the basis for future talks between the Israelis and the Palestinians, hasn't this decision, hasn't what we've just witnessed, made the chance of peace in the Middle East so much tougher now?
Well, I think that it hasn't made the chance for peace tougher. Firstly, I don't believe that that is the core problem. I believe the core problem is Palestinian rejection of the right of Israel to exist. We saw only in the last couple of weeks Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian leader, making a very vitriolic speech where he blamed the Jews for the Holocaust, where he said he doesn't think that Israel has a right to exist, where he called it a colonial project. And that's the real crux of the issue and the real problem that is stopping peace from taking place. Jerusalem is one of those issues that needs to be discussed from the Palestinian perspective. But Jerusalem, the decision here is dispelling the myth of the Palestinians that they will ever kick the Jews out of Jerusalem. That's not going to happen. Jerusalem is our capital. Every peace plan in history that's ever been put forward has recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
Jared Kushner saying that, as we have seen from these protests in the last month and today, those provoking violence are part of the problem, he said, not part of the solution. There are many who are saying, well, that's as much true of Israel and its actions as it is of anybody else.
Well, Hamas can stop the violence immediately. If Hamas stop their people going to the border, we have seen them distributing leaflets showing people where to go to the border. We've got leaflets showing where the nearest communities are. In fact, Hamas are paying activists today to approach the border. They are offering financial rewards to anybody who will approach the border and try and breach that border.
Are Israeli soldiers firing across the border using live rounds and killing Palestinians inside the Gaza Strip?
Israeli forces are defending our border in the same way that any other country would defend their border. If somebody tries to breach the border, if somebody is planting explosives, and we've seen today a number of people planting explosives on the border, if somebody is coming to plant an explosive or to try and break through that border in order to attack Israeli civilians, we will act like any other country in the world and will defend our border. We do not want this violence, and we call on Hamas and we call on moderate voices in the region to stop the violence and to call for calm and to return to a negotiating table with the Palestinian leadership.
Just seeing that the Israeli Air Force has hit Hamas base in Gaza, I think you've got a bit more information on that.
Well, the Israeli Air Force, we hit a number of bases in order to...
Do you know how many?
I believe 5 was the initial information. These were training bases of Hamas where they were directing and coordinating some of the action and some of the terrorist activity that was going on at the border.
Will history judge today as the moment Israel got what it wanted, but at a huge cost?
I believe that history will judge today as a very important decision, that it marked the beginning of I hope, of a peace process, of a realization on the Palestinian part.
Do you believe there is still a peace process?
Well, that's the decision of the Palestinians. My Prime Minister Netanyahu, has made it abundantly clear on numerous occasions that he's willing to talk to the Palestinians anytime, any place. When he was in London in November, he made the call. I heard him personally say, I'm willing to talk to the Palestinians anytime, any place. It is the Palestinians that are over and over again rejecting any attempt to talk. It is the Palestinians who've said they won't talk to us. It's the Palestinians who said they won't come to the table. And it's the Palestinians that are rejecting the right of Israel to exist. And that's the core problem here.
Has what's happened today made any progress in those peace talks, such as they were, less or more likely, do you think, honestly?
I believe honestly in the mid to long term this will be a positive move, and I believe that it is likely to bring peace closer. I believe that, as I said, that every peace process and every peace plan that's ever been proposed has had Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. There can be no peace process that doesn't have Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And I believe that this sends a clear message to the Palestinians that if you want to have peace with Israel, you need to recognize that we're not going anywhere. You have to recognize that you're not going to throw the Jews out of Jerusalem. And you have to recognize that that the negotiations are the way forward. And I would repeat the call again for the Palestinians to sit down and talk to us and to negotiate with us so that we can solve this conflict.
Michael Freeman from the Israeli embassy here in London, thank you very much.